Dragon Age has always held a special place in my heart. I don't think I've ever replayed a game as much as Dragon Age Origins, which I still think is the highlight of the series thus far. In fact, I don't think they'll ever top that game in my book. But with Dragon Age 4 in early development, I thought I'd share 5 things I would like to see, or in some cases, things I don't want to see in Dragon Age 4. Let's get started. Coming in number 1, we have no more war table missions. Who at BioWare thought war table missions were a good idea? Better yet, who thought it would be a good idea to use real world timers as a countdown for the missions? One mission, I kid you not, took me 24 hours in real time to complete. I waited 24 hours to see what would happen. I'm sorry, but that's just poor design, plain and simple. Now, I'm not completely opposed to the idea of having a war table, but at least make it interesting. For example, you could choose an area to attack and maybe have a little RTRS section. It'd also be nice to see big battles. There were a few times in Inquisition where there were big battles and you were technically a part of them, but you never really felt like you were because your squad was off on their own following their own path. But whatever they decide to do, just please, no more real world countdown timers. Personally though, I don't think Dragon Age 4 will even have a war table, as this story seems to be more focused on what you do when you don't have any power and the people in charge won't address the issues. Which actually brings me nicely into number 2. A more intimate story. What makes Dragon Age Origins so good? Is it the replay value and the roleplay value of different origins? Or is it the threat of a darkspawn horde? Both are certainly a big factor, along with how dark and gritty the game was, which I feel has been lost in the later games. However, one thing that makes the game so good is its characters. Dragon Age Origins is a very intimate story. A story about you and a few companions desperately trying to gather as many forces as you can to repel the Darkspawn Horde, and what you would do to get them. How far would you go? Now I can name you pretty much every single companion in Dragon Age Origins, because they made that much of an impact on me. Unfortunately, the same cannot be said for Dragon Age 2, which until making this very video, I completely forgot that Anders even existed. And since he was a pretty big part of the story, that doesn't say too much for that game. Inquisition was a bit better on this front with more memorable characters, but nothing to really write home about. In Dragon Age 4, I would like to see a big focus on the relationships between the team. It sounds like we'll be doing a lot of problem solving ourselves since those in power won't do anything to help us. So give me a good cast of characters to form relationships with. Next up, we have choices that matter. In Origins, the choices you made mattered. Do you have the Tower Mages or the Templars in the final fight? Do you start making golems to fight Darkspawn hordes even though you know the dark secret behind them? The choices you had to make were difficult, and they were not always black and white, and I loved that. I want more of that. I remember a choice in Dragon Age Inquisition that made me stare at my screen for 10 minutes. Do I leave Alistair behind, or do I leave Hawke behind? Now I ultimately chose to save Alistair, but it was a really hard choice. Unfortunately, the choice itself doesn't really mean that much, as you'll never see the Wardens again regardless. In Dragon Age 4 I want choices that are hard to make, that are not black and white and really make you think. I want choices that could get people killed, even your companions killed. I want to see the outcome of the choices I make, either by looking at the world such as a thriving town or an abandoned town, and I want to see different endings based on my choices. Do I have allies that stand with me and help me fight the last boss? Or am I standing alone with my companions as they die one by one because we don't have the numbers because of the terrible choices we made? Mass Effect 2's ending is a perfect example of this. You can get such a brutal ending if you don't play your cards right in that game. Even Mass Effect 3's final space battle is a perfect example of this. You could be kicking the Reaper's ass or you could be getting your ass kicked. Now I'm not saying I want a sad ending, I love happy endings, but I really think you should work for a happy ending. Number 4, we have armor customization. This isn't a particularly long one, I just really want this feature in the next game. Now, don't you hate it when you love a piece of armor, but it's just not cutting it for you anymore? You're just taking too much damage you have to upgrade. But when you do, it's just the ugliest piece you've ever seen. I know, in the grand scheme of things, this seems rather trivial. But in an RPG game, I want to look cool. I think this game should go down the route of Assassin's Creed Odyssey in this regard, and have a cosmetic slot purely for looks. You can still wear better armors, but you would see the armor you've equipped in your cosmetic slot. I do think if they went down this route there would be some restrictions on this, such as only being able to wear armor types in the cosmetic slots for the class you've actually picked, such as warrior, mage or rogue. It would look pretty weird to see a mage running around in heavy armor. Finally on my list, not a live service game. Let's be real here guys, BioWare isn't the same company we once knew and loved. It hasn't been for a while. The last couple of games have not landed well, with Mass Effect Andromeda being the most disappointing thing since Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, and Anthem being a complete flop. Be honest with me, how many of you actually forgot Anthem existed before I just mentioned it? I truly worry about the future of BioWare, and I really think Dragon Age could be their last chance before EA puts down OGL. One sure way to make Dragon Age 4 a flop is to make it a live service game. Seriously, how many live service games needs to die before publishers and developers get the message that we don't want them? Now I've heard a fair amount of rumours about Dragon Age 4's troubled development, and at this point in time, I'm not entirely sure where the game stands in the live service area. Now I think it's inevitable we'll see some sort of microtransaction. Hopefully they'll just throw it into whatever awful multiplayer mode is bound to come with this game and leave the single player alone. Because I know BioWare can still create amazing games. The Trespasser DLC for Dragon Age Inquisitions has a better ending than the actual game did. I'm all up for single player DLC if the game is good, but please don't make this game a live service. It'll be the final nail in the coffin of a once great company. Let me know what you would like to see in the next installment of Dragon Age in the comments section, and I'll see you next time. Have a good night my friends. All day.